The acting Attorney General of the United States, Jeffrey Rosen, just issued a statement saying the violence at our nation's Capitol building is an intolerable attack on a fundamental institution of our democracy. The words continue to flow right now, Dana, but I don't know what's going to happen in the coming hours. Will these Republicans who want to try to block the democratically held election here in the United States, whether Steve Scalise or Kevin McCarthy or Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley, will they now recognize they were going to lose anyhow, just get it over with and move on?
It is the question we're waiting to know the answer to, Wolf. In the meantime, we are getting some dramatic pictures of what happened in the moments, the minutes, when these rioters came to the outside of the House chamber. And on the phone is Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. And Congressman, we have a photo that's on CNN.com, and we're going to put up right now, that shows you reaching out on the floor of the House chamber, reaching out to Congresswoman Susan Wild. And you are, there you go, and you are, looks like you're trying to comfort her. Take us in that moment. What was going on?
Yeah, that was a very, very difficult time. I haven't been in a situation like that since, frankly, I've been in Iraq and Afghanistan as an Army Ranger. We were actually trapped in the House chamber at that time. The mob had descended and broke through the security cordon of the Capitol. They had already evacuated the leadership and the members who were on the floor. But those of us who were up in the gallery watching the debate had been trapped because the mob closed off the stairwells and had surrounded the chamber. So the police weren't able to get us out. So they actually closed and locked the doors and started to take furniture and barricade the doors and the windows with furniture as the mob tried to ram them down and was breaking through the windows. The police had their guns out and were prepared to defend us on the floor. But we were told to lay down. My friend Susan, of course, a dear friend, wanted to make sure that we were comforting each other.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Now that I look at it, it makes sense. You were up, sort of looking down on the House floor in the gallery. You mentioned you were a U.S. Army Ranger. You did 3 tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. You were an 82nd Airborne Platoon leader. You were awarded the Bronze Star. How did that experience play into the moment that we're seeing now and what you just described in the beacon and the home of democracy, the U.S. Capitol, as an elected member of Congress?
Well, when I was an Army Ranger, I was trained to fight. And I joined because I love America, I love our country, and I've always wanted to defend her. And, I went abroad and served 3 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan to do that. I never thought that I'd have to be in a situation of having to fight, certainly as a member of Congress, the United States Capitol on the House floor in the year 2021. It's surreal, and to be honest with you, I'm still processing that experience and coming to terms with it. But we have some very serious questions that we need to answer here in the days ahead about what this means and what we have to do to respond to it.
And as we were speaking, Speaker Pelosi announced that the process is going to resume tonight. Do you know anything about what the plans are and how quickly that is going to begin?
Well, I think it's important that we do resume it tonight. It's our understanding that they are clearing, or maybe they've already cleared the Capitol at this point. We have to go back as soon as we can, and we need to complete this work, certify this election, and move our country forward. We will not be intimidated. We will not be browbeat. We will keep doing our work. It's the people's work, and the vast, vast majority of Americans are good, decent, hardworking people. Their voice will be heard. Their votes will be counted, and they will either be counted tonight or they will be counted tomorrow. But we will get this work done.
Congressman Jason Crow, thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for everything that you've done there. And you're absolutely right. There are so many questions that I know you're asking, everybody's asking about how this happened, these pictures. That's one of them. Lots of other pictures of these rioters sitting at desks they should never be sitting at on the House floor, on the Senate floor. Thank you so much. Jake, I know you have a lot of relationships with members of Congress who were in the military, and they come to Congress as, at the next step in their service. to this country and, just a different form of service. And you don't expect that this would happen in the United States Capitol as an elected official, that they have to call on that service on the battlefield to help protect the people around them.
Yeah, and we talked to Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin and Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, both Republicans, both combat veterans from Iraq, and both of them talking about how they haven't seen any images like what we saw today since they were in Iraq. We also need to acknowledge, look, members of veterans run the gamut politically. And for every Crow and Gallagher and Kinzinger, you also have a Crenshaw or a Mast, combat veterans who served honorably, who are part of this big lie, who are objecting to a free and fair election. So I wish I could say there was some sort of through line on all the combat veterans, but no, some of them are part of this monstrosity. People who have been fed lies by the president and his supporters. And again, as we've talked about many times, I don't know if the president believes it or he doesn't understand what happened or there's some sort of psychological issue I'm not capable of diagnosing. But whatever it is, he keeps lying. And you see the domestic terrorism that results, which is exactly what this is, domestic terrorism by Trump supporters.
And as all of this is happening, you're hearing almost parallel conversations unfolding in Washington and elsewhere among elected officials. You have Democrats talking openly about, even at this late stage with 14 days left, bringing articles of impeachment against this president, top Democrats, not, lower level rank and file members, but people in senior leadership talking about that. And you also have Republicans, several of them, now talking about whether the 25th Amendment should be invoked. The Vermont governor, Phil Scott, just a few minutes ago, tweeted that President Trump should resign or be removed from office by his cabinet or by Congress. He is a Republican, an anti-Trump Republican, but a Republican nonetheless. And that is a very significant statement. This is a president who only has days left, but clearly people in positions of power and positions of government in this country are more alarmed now than they have been in the past. And the reality is we very well could be facing the darkest 14 days of this presidency yet. We just have a few weeks left, but this is a president who's becoming increasingly desperate. And you're hearing from his staffers. Mike Pompeo has tweeted condemning the violence. The National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, tweeting condemning the violence, also tweeting in support of what Mike Pence did in carrying out parts of his duties today. It suggests that people around the president, even the ones who are still working for him, want to distance themselves from what he is doing today, which is inciting this violence. In this last tweet, encouraging this violence, patting his supporters on the back for this violence. So there's something happening here. What it will amount to is really unclear, and of course, time is running short.